I do actually have students in the classroom, so that's why I'm helping them. So that's why I will probably turn off my video.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Well, we miss her out there directing traffic, so.
Oh, yeah, seeing her every morning when she's bringing in the kiddos.
Yeah, in the evening, in the afternoon.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be missed. Maybe once in a while I'll make a special appearance.
Oh, well, I think your class is right next to Miss Patterson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I started the recording so we can make sure we get this out to those that could not make it this morning, and then we'll get started. So this is actually called, the program that I'm using is actually called Nearpod, and you can actually interact with it. I'm not sure if you know how, I don't know if on your iPad you have Nearpod, but I'm going to send out an email with those instructions on how to download it for next time. So then that way it's a little bit more interactive where you can actually write on the screen as well. So, so basically this is coffee with a splash of zones. So today we're going to talk more about like the zones of regulations that especially Valley and a few other schools have really implemented into their classrooms. And it's nice that some of our parents are going to be getting the training too. So then that way the kiddos are getting it from school as well as home. So that's a beautiful thing that we're excited about. So these are the objectives for today that we're going to do is you'll be able to understand what is the zones of regulations are. You will be able to, excuse me, you will be able, or I will be able to understand what is self-regulation and then be able to identify the 4 different zones. And they're very simple zones of regulation, so not too complicated. And then just a little bit about myself. Excuse me. I am actually the ESS behavioral specialist for Crane District. So I oversee 9 schools. And when teachers are, for say, let's have a behavior in the classroom that is undesirable, they then contact me and then I go in and help build interventions for them or like strategies to put in place to help the students and help the teacher be able to give them the appropriate way of sharing those or getting what they need instead of having a behavior. I have actually taught special education for about, oh God, I want to say 8 to 9 years. And mostly in behaviors. So behaviors are my forte. I love behaviors. Oddly enough, people think I'm crazy, but it's just, when you look at the word behavior and you think about the word behavior, a lot of people think of it as bad behavior, but in reality, behavior is just a way of communication. But sometimes it's it's not the appropriate way. So if I learn to communicate to get your attention by screaming and kicking, then I'm going to continue to scream and kick until I am taught the appropriate behavior of getting your attention. So behavior is just something we do to get a reaction. So that's the fun part, is finding that what they need and it's trying to communicate. And then I put the right puzzle piece in place. So it's kind of like getting 2 puzzle pieces and they're not, you know, they look like they match, but they don't. But they're still getting the same like fit. But then you got like half of a bird and half of a tree going together, but they kind of, it's like a puzzle piece that's not fitting. It doesn't match. It fits, but it doesn't match. But then when you put the right one in, it matches and makes a beautiful puzzle. So that's how I view behavior. I've also been a parent. I have a 21-year-old in college. And then I also have a 16-year-old going on 21 as well. She thinks she's much older now that she's driving. She just got a driver's license and it's scaring me that how much she's growing so fast. I've also been, I was a teen mom. So I had my son at 16. That's why he's 21. And then I was a foster mom and now I'm a foster pet mom. So lots of different avenues of motherhood, I guess, or parenting as well. I've been a married mother as well as a single mother. So have lots of different ways of viewing. And I actually used to teach parenting to those that the kiddos were going back to their moms from the system. So that's why Miss Day asked me if I could do this, since I do have expertise and have been trained in multiple different parenting curriculums. So this one is much more unique because we're doing the zones, which is nice. So I just want to kind of go over what is self-regulation. And the funny thing about self-regulation is that we do it all the time. You know, I do it all the time, especially when I go in where my daughter comes in on one and we're going at it, I have to self-regulate myself. So we do it constantly all the time, but sometimes some of our kiddos are not equipped to be able to self-regulate, and we have to spend extra time on teaching them. And that's what zones of regulations does. So basically, self-regulation can be defined in various ways. In the most basic sense, it involves controlling one's behavior, emotions, and thoughts in the pursuit of long-term goals. More specifically, emotional self-regulation refers to the ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulsives. So kids have to do all of that, include growing up, going to school, do their chores, and everything else we're asking them, and be able to maintain what's going on inside of them. And I think a lot of the times, like, we have some really great kids and we're like, oh, they're doing so great. And then teenage years hit, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, what happened to my darling little angel? And it's because of all those hormones and all the internal stuff that's going on from school, the pressure of school, peer pressure, that they're having to self-regulate all of that. And having that the zones curriculum already imprinted in them and learning how to self-regulate, it's going to be so good for like our kinders that are learning it, and then it's going to go on and on. Right now we're barely implementing it, which is great. And then we'll give them some tools that they can have, and hopefully they continue on, learning more tools. So I'm super excited to see what our future is going to look like, that because the curriculum is worldwide. And so I'm excited to see how that's going to look in like 5 years, how our kiddos are going to be socially. So there's 5 domains actually of self-regulation. So you got social, like school, peer pressure, behaviorally, how am I going to act when somebody is with me or in a different environment? And then cognitively, so that's, my education and being able to learn. And then also pro-social, which is being proactive in different avenues of like community and good things like that. And then lastly, biological. So the hormones that are going to come when they're a teenager, or if they're sick, that will affect them, their self-regulation. Do you have any questions and concern? I know I'm talking pretty quickly, so.
No, I'm reading and listening.
Okay.
I'm on Zoom, babe.
So another piece to social emotional is self-regulation is social emotional intelligence. So we have 2 different types of intelligence. We have the IQ, which we all want our kids to be super smart, right? And solve the world's problems. We also have EQ, which is emotional. There's emotional side to it. And so basically emotional intelligence, or EI, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions. And those are the people around you. So not only do I have to control mine, but whatever my emotions are, that means it's going to affect everybody else around me, which is true, right? When my daughter comes in and she's hangry, like really angry, hungry, I feel it off of her. So then it kind of changes the way I feel, because now I'm like, what's going on? Now I become worried instead of, oh, I was happy to see her. Like, are you okay? So having to be able to control my own, so then everybody else's is controlled as well. It's a lot when we really put in perspective of it. And then people with high degree of emotional intelligence know that what they're feeling, what their emotions mean and how these emotions can affect other people. So zones of regulations actually hits that. It shows them how they're feeling, what to do with those feelings, and then how is it going to affect everybody else. And then we have gone too far to emphasize the value and importance of the purely rationale of IQ, that we're sometimes missing the EQ, and that we really can't do nothing if we don't have the EQ in place, or like their emotions in place. If I'm sure you've seen it where an angry child, we cannot teach an angry child anything. That's including things in the home. Like when my daughter is upset, I just kind of let her be, because there's no talking to her until she's ready to soak in and has self-regulated those emotions. So let's talk a little bit about the zones. Any questions or concerns?
No, I'm fairly familiar with most of that.
Oh, good. That's good. That's nice to have a nice background on it. So it's probably just like a little overview, which is great. So the purpose. Let's talk about the purpose of the zones. So there was actually an OT lady. She's the one that designed this curriculum, and she worked with mostly autism, but it's not just an autism program. It's also for wide range, and we've actually have implemented in many general education classroom, which is like the general population, as well as the special ed classrooms as well. So it basically addresses the unique needs of autism and like attention and deficit hyperactivity disorder, so ADHD. And then it also focuses on executive functioning, which we just learned about. One was the self-regulation and the learning styles of each child, which result in 4 easy zones, which they're super, super easy. But it helps, it's funny because it's 4 easy zones, but it helps with sort very complex feelings. And so that way that they're more easy for students or children in general to understand each area or each zone. By understanding the category they find themselves in, they then learn how to use coping skills, understand their feelings, and develop more consolidation with the respective underlying emotions. There's learning activities in it that helps them understand them and then help boost self-regulation in the long term. So we want to look at the long term. You know, if I don't learn how to cope with attention, you know, getting somebody's attention, I just can't go into the public when I'm, you know, 7, 8, and I go into the library, I can't scream at the librarian, I need them. Instead, they're learning how to use those coping skills to be able to get that attention they need. So this is one of my favorite quotes, is that learning self-regulation is one of the key skills young children need to start on the path to academic success. So we actually need this skill before we even walk into the classroom. And so, and unfortunately, a lot of kids that come through, or they know some skills, but sometimes they lack those self-regulation skills. Not saying that all parents who failed us, but sometimes even like me, I tell this story that, you know, my son is on the spectrum. I had no idea he was. And now that I'm like a behavioral specialist, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have saw those signs and was educated to see those signs as a parent, maybe I would have helped him a lot better. And I saw the struggle as he grew up. Like, he had a lot of struggles because I wasn't able to help him self-regulate when he was young. Now, mind you, I was a young parent and I didn't understand, but still, like, and it's ever changing. Like, our kiddos that are coming into our new society, the things our society are introducing to them, it's a lot different. And so it's just so much that is put on parents that it's nice to be able to have tools such as the zones of regulations to help them learn those self-regulation skills, not just in school, but also in life in general. I always tell people I'm barely learning some self-regulation skills as an adult. And I'm like, I'm 38 years old, barely learning how to really deep breathe. I said, what a world of difference that would have made when I was a child to learn how to really deep breathe and kind of let things go. And I'm barely learning that, excuse me, as an adult. Did you need to go help your daughter get ready? Or your son?
I think my wife's gonna go
Oh,
check on it.
oh, good. Any questions or concerns before we got deep?
No, so yeah, some of the things are hidden too, and they only come out at on certain events. I've noticed with all the kids that I've brought up. So if you
Yeah,
can identify them early, that's really good.
yes. And and like the studies show, like the sooner you get them in, or the sooner you recognize and start building that skill set, and then later in the future, you like kids will have less of a hard time adapting to what the world expects of them.
Sure.
So,
And the world is so much faster
mm.
than it used to be. So
Oh
it gets
yeah,
faster every day. So
yes, I believe that. It's like you have to be super quick to be able to even, to get their attention or get,
mhm.
um, and I was like, yeah, just imagine they've been on video, they like video games. The video games are super quick. And now they have the VR. I think I watched some of my kiddos play the virtual reality. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like they're really in the game. It was like interesting to watch them. Hilarious, but quite interesting. So this is the story behind the zones. I kind of went over it a little bit, so I'm gonna go pretty quick. So the person that wrote it is Leah Kuiper. I'm gonna say that bad. Kuiper. She was an OT and autism specialist. And then she realized that there's a lot of sensory needs out there being treated with students with limited disabled, and that a lot of peer interactions were not happening due to their frequent outbursts. So children didn't really want to play with them. So their social skills were lacking, and they didn't have the coping mechanism. And then instead, she saw like kids being punished for behaviors rather than being taught. So like, no, 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 but never being like, hey, why don't you walk up to them and say, do you want to play with me? Like showing them those social interactions. So she decided to make this curriculum to help them be able to understand the sensory part and also the emotional outbursts. So after piloting the program in her classroom, a few of her colleagues saw like, oh my gosh, like this is really working. Can you make like a curriculum for it so that way we can use it and then eventually branch out, which what just happened, it has become now universal, international, and so now we're seeing it populate everywhere, especially after COVID. Okay, COVID has really brought us some different stuff too. What great emotions going on when families are getting COVID, and it has been a very intense year and a half, almost 2 years. I think it actually has been 2 years. So students with this program then learn to use behavior to manage their behavior and then reflect back on their behavior. So lots of reflection. So let's hone a little bit more on the zones. So let's get to know the zones a little bit. So one, you're going to identify your feelings, right? Uh-oh, my dog's having some deep feelings right now. He's in the blue zone. And the 4 zones, so there's 4 different zones. Their feelings and states determine what zone you're in. So states of alertness and emotions. So we have the blue zone, the green zone, the yellow zone, and the red zone. So we're actually going to play a little game. So looking just around you, and you can get up if you want to, but just kind of looking what's around you, is if you could find something that's red. So I actually have, funny thing is one of our teachers gave me a red apple. So I actually have a red apple near me. So I don't know if you have anything red around you. It could be a pen, it could be anything. Do you have anything red around you?
Only books.
Oh, okay. So I have a red apple. So I just wanted to kind of do something a little fun. And this is another way I'm trying to show you, like you can show your, like if you want to sit down with your kids and talk about, it could be something simple as let's go look for something red. Oh, look, Miss Day has a red, was it a purse?
It's a little notebook.
A little notebook, yay. So it could be as simple as that for kids. It's like, you know, let's go look for something red and then let's talk about what does red mean, you know, red zone. So red zone is anger, mad, angry, out of control, yelling, refusing to work. It's described as a heightened state of alertness. A person may experiencing anger, rage, explosive behavior, panic, grief, terror. So just a red zone is a loss of control. And then another thing I really like to focus with kids is anger bad? Is a red zone bad? And you're going to hear a lot of, yes, it's bad. But actually, no, it's not bad. Anger is not bad at all. It's what we do with our anger is what makes it bad sometimes, right? It's how we express our anger. I can be mad, but I need to know how to be able to cope with that and then get back to the green zone. So I like to show this too, is I like my anger because it gives me strength and to take action. When I'm angry, I'm going to usually express it and try to fix it by taking that my strength that I have from it and then doing an action behind it. But it's the action, right, that causes it to be bad. So that's what zones is going to teach us, is how to not to use the right action to get what we need. So now our next zone is green. So if you can find something green around you, I'm going to take a green. Gosh, I don't even think I have something green. I have like a green. Oh, I do have something green. I actually have.
I heard you go.
A green rock. Oh, a green highlighter. Somebody actually gave me this rock. They made it for me. It says Teacher's Guide and Influence. So I have it near me. So now I would talk about the green zone, right? Green zone is happy, ready to learn, calm, feeling great. This is where we want to be most of the time. Doesn't mean we need to be all the time. You know, there's different environments that we might be a little bit different. But normally we want, this is where we feel good in. It's the ideal state of alertness. Maybe calm, focused, happy. The student feels a strong sense of internal control. So being like in control of yourself. And I like to put that, I know this is not green, but I like my happiness because it's just outright delicious, right? It makes me feel great. And then we're gonna go into the yellow zone. So I actually have, let's see, what do I have with yellow around me? I have a yellow bubble timer. Here's my yellow bubble timer. I don't know if you have anything yellow. Yellow might be a little harder to find since it's not, a lot of people don't like too much yellow, but it does brighten your day. Oh, what is that?
The bookmarker for a binder.
Ah, bookmarker. And also your back wall is yellow. I see.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so then I would go into, let's talk about, you know, yellow zone. So yellow zone is more of like a silly, a heightened state of alertness. So I might be a little bit more silly, excited, or maybe even worried about a test. Just a little bit of loss of some self-control. You might be frustrated with like a word problem or the way I have to go do chores. I don't want to do chores. You know, like you might be a little bit more frustrated, or maybe you're excited about the fair coming. I know that's going on everywhere. I see that tickets are coming for sale soon. And the student's energy is just heightened a little bit. So it feels a little bit of less self-control, but probably a little bit more manageable. And so then I always say, I like my fear because it reminds me to protect myself. So there's a good part to fear. It reminds me I need to be careful. I need to make sure I'm okay. And then of course, then the blue zone. So anything blue? Do you have anything blue? Oh, I do have something blue. I have a lot more stuff around me than I noticed. Oh, Coffee cup is blue. Woo! That's a good blue. I just have I think this is highlighter blue. And then what do you have? Oh, it's stapler.
Stapler.
Yeah, you can tell we're definitely teachers. We have all the office stuff around us. And then we go into the blue zone, talk about the blue zone. So blue is actually sad. It's used to describe a low state of alertness. So this could be sad, tired, sick, or bored. Moving slowly, like I don't feel good today, or oh, I'm sad because I miss my mom, or I miss my grandma. She had to go back, just very a little bit slow. So I like to say I like my sadness because it helps me connect with others. It shows me I show empathy, right? I'm like, oh, I'm sad because I miss somebody because I know she loves me. And that's when I get to my green zone, then I think of her love. So overall, emotions are not weakness. And I know, I'm sure as a male, Mr. L, is that I'm sure when you grew up, maybe you felt, I noticed with male students that sometimes they have a hard time being able to express, especially sadness, because they feel like it's not a male thing to do, or boys are not supposed to cry, but they are supposed to cry, and we do get sad sometimes. It happens, and it's okay. It's okay to cry, to miss our moms, or like a death in the family. Emotions are not weakness to us, and even anger, that's not a weakness. And a lot of kids, including myself, I shoot as adults too. And like I said, learning this is realized, like, even with my own children, I'm like, anger is bad. Hurry up and get out of it. I want you just happy, 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 happy all the time. But they have emotions that they're having to self-regulate. I have to give them time to be happy. And I can't expect them to be happy all the time. Do I want them happy all the time? Yes, absolutely. But I know they're humans. We're human. We're emotional humans. We have feelings. So I really like to share that make emotions regular, not regular, natural. There you go. Very natural. They are natural to us. And I feel like sometimes society doesn't make that natural connection. It makes it either, oh, like for men, you're not strong enough, or if you're angry all the time, then you're just a well, I'm not going to say what they would say on like TikTok. It would be a bad word, but like you're just somebody I don't mess with. So that makes me sad sometimes. But I know hopefully our next generation will understand that emotions are not a weakness. And that starts with us as parents and grandparents and teachers and family, that we're able to teach that. Do you have any questions so far about the zone?
No, I'm big on the things that you talked about. So I release of emotions are good because you get rid of the stress and everything else. Even guys, crying. I mean, I cry. I can hardly remember my stepdad crying. But he was very stiff and never displayed emotions. When I'm happy, I'm happy, and when I'm sad, I'm sad. And identifying your feelings and having a good alternative to help correct those is healthy. And that's something that a lot of times has to be taught because the kids don't know how to deal with their emotions and their situations and all these things. So it has to be taught to them how to problem solve. Because a lot of the kids want someone else to problem solve for them. They don't want to do the work. And if you don't do the work, you don't get a benefit out of it. So, and that's kind of where I'm at. Teaching my kids how to act, how to behave. It's okay to feel, try and identify that and so forth. So,
Yes, I agree. Like our kids sometimes want things handed to them. Hey, stop.
I like to add on to what he said, and in the sense when he said they have to be taught. Also role modeling. I don't think parents realize sometimes, or adults realize, role modeling is teaching. So I think that adds on to it. And what made me think of that is Alan, actually, he's one of the few parents every morning would wave good morning, and it was always with a smile and everything else. So, I mean, just having that is a role model, because then whoever's in the car, the youngster in the car, is also seeing that. And those are feelings and emotions as well. And then what he gets back from that, so usually that would make my morning like, oh my gosh, waving hi back and stuff like that. So teaching / role modeling is what also I think helps our kids out.
and attitude is very important because it's a way of thinking, feeling, and acting, and in that order. And if it's out of that order, it's uh, uh, not a good way to go. So the feeling, the thinking, and then the action is very important in that order. So attitude is very important, and I try and teach our kids to have an attitude, a good attitude, and it can be catching too. A bad attitude displayed can make the next person feel yucky, and they'll display that onto the next person and so forth. A good attitude can make a person feel good, and they'll display that, and that'll be put onto the next person. So it's catching.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I totally agree. And what I'm so excited, like I said, to see what our future brings to us, especially with all the hardship of or what has happened in our world so far. So hopefully we can hit many, many more, the multitudes. That's my goal, to hit the multitudes. All right, we only have a few more slides. Yay, we made it. So basically, these are the key components of the zones. All zones are acceptable. They make others feel comfortable and safe when we are in the expected zone at the expected time. Important to practice skills in the green zone. So when, like even when you're in the green zone, to practice breathing or practice whatever skill that you decide to teach. And we are going to go over more of those strategies on Thursday. So make comments out loud of how you feel. So that's the nice thing about zones. And like you said, you cry, you laugh, you show that you're sad, and that's beautiful. And that's what I tell a lot of parents. It's like, when you're sad, like I had a parent that said her father died, and I'm trying to hold it together. I have to do it for my son. And I'm like, no, you need to cry with your son and say, I am sad, and it's okay to be sad.
And he'll learn by that.
Yes, I said, what a learning time for him, that it's okay to be sad and it's okay to express his feelings in that manner. And then making those, like I said, loud, like I told her, like discuss it with him. And then reinforce the times that they do use, like, oh, I see that you're angry and you're breathing and you're removing yourself right now. And thank you so much for using those coping strategies and being able to express your anger appropriately. And it's just being consistent. These skills won't become habitual overnight. We don't learn math overnight. So it's going to take time, especially if it's not a normal routine.
And practice makes permanent.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So
That one. I'm gonna have to use that. Doesn't make perfect, because when you say perfect, then they're like, oh no, I gotta be perfect. I like that.
no, well, if you practice wrong, you're going to get it wrong every time. However you practice will make permanent.
Oh, I like that one. That will be in my next training. Thank you. Definitely. I'm learning from you too. I like learning from parents too. And that's why I wanted to call it like a cafe, so that way we could discuss and learn from each other. I don't know everything, and I like to tell that to people too. I mean, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And I love learning from everybody. and it just makes me stronger for the next person that needs me. So thank you. I'm going to use that one next time. I like it a lot. And here's a few more key components that they share how a child's behavior is impacting the zone you are in, and then try to reward them for being in the green zone, as this is not always expected zone. So rewarding them, like I said, oh, thank you for using, thank you for going for a run when you feel anxious, or thank you for going for a run when I see that you're very super hyper. And then it's helpful for you, I know it says staff, but for parents, to be aware of the zones and also use them too. You are the model. And so it was nice to hear you say that, yeah, I cry, I'm sad, sometimes, we're human, we're not robots. So there's no good or bad zone. We are all human, and it's human nature to have emotions. And then I think we have 2 more slides. Oh no. Oh, this one is actually, I'll take a little while because you once you learn how it to be interactive, and actually if you want to, I can put where you can write on it, and you can just share with me what's one thing that you learned today about the zones of regulations.
You're asking me?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. I learned a few things. The zone of regulation display basically how a child or even a person can be from one day or one moment to the next, and they recognizing that as a parent or as a friend or whatever can help that person through whatever zone that is. Sometimes you can help them find a good alternative. Sometimes you can just sit and listen if that's what it takes. But you can be there for that child or person.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think one thing I learned from learning the zones was that how they're like ever changing. Kind of like Yuma, Arizona, right? It's like super cold right now. You can wear a jacket, and then all of a sudden it's blazing hot.
I think it's very pleasant compared to the rest of the nation.
Yes. So how about you, Miss Day? Do you want to share anything?
I actually liked in the beginning when you were explaining it as puzzle pieces, that it might look like it's fitting, but it's not. I guess that kind of just put it more in perception for me, especially now that I can look back with some of my challenging students that I've had in classrooms, that it's like, yeah, we fit and they knew me, but I still wasn't quite hitting what they needed to make it mesh. So I kind of like that whole puzzle piece metaphor.
Yeah, so you have to look at the picture and not the pieces.
Yes, exactly. Yay, I'm glad. Thank you for sharing. So I know for next time what to really say and push. So I think this is last one. Yes. So this is our last slide. So it says, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it, especially since I don't know why you guys didn't pop up on the waiting room. I was looking and looking, and then I think I walked back and there you guys were. I'm like, oh no, how long have they been waiting? Oh my gosh. So we are going to meet again Thursday. Hopefully you can make it. I know a few other parents said that they were. I think there's 2 others that are going to join us on Thursday. So we'll have a little bit more people to help us learn some more. Like I said, I like to learn from other parents too. We have all different perspectives, which is great. And then next week, we're actually going to build like a visual. I said poster, but I think it would be more like a visual. And then as well as put some stuff into our toolbox, which is actually our strategies that we're going to start building. So learning some strategies to use with the zones of regulations. So that's up next week. So I'm super excited about that because that's the fun part of bringing all the cool different ways of helping kids self-regulate. through the zones. So, yay. Any other questions or concerns that you have?
No, not particularly.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for coming and for being patient for this first day. Like I said, I'm so sorry I didn't see you guys. And next time I'm gonna have to make sure I pull up I think because it was on the bottom, I hadn't pulled up the side. I know that's so funky, the zones. And so now I know for next time to make sure I pull it up on the side. So learning experience for me too. So I will see you hopefully next Thursday. And I thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you again. Have a great day, you guys.
Thank you for
Yes, everybody have a
sharing
great
with
day.
us, and we'll see you at some point.
Yes, for next Thursday. So have a terrific Tuesday.
Okay, and you too, Miss Day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.